I have some great information to share with you today, and I'm very excited about it. This is one of those episodes that I've wanted to make for a while because the information is that good. Several listeners have asked me about this topic and to cover it. And honestly, when I sat down and pulled it all together, this is why I love this work. Once you hear this, you're going to understand your body in a way that most people don't, including a lot of people who have a medical background. And that's simply because they've never been taught this. And this all started with a series of questions that many of my clients and that I've been hearing quite a bit lately. And that the words change, but the underlying question is the same. Why does my body feel like this? Basically, like it's been invaded by an alien. Why do I wake up and I'm stiff? Why do I feel heavy, like my body is dragging through the marsh by the afternoon? Why does moving through the day feel like I'm carrying a 50-pound backpack? And perhaps the biggest question of all, and these are kind of little segues leading into it, is this just what getting older is going to feel like? What if the stiffness is not where you think it is? What if the problem is not the treatment? What if you've been treating the wrong address? Today, I'm going to answer these questions because after 40 years as a clinical pharmacist and decades of moving and teaching movement, this is a conversation I would have wanted someone to have with me many, many years ago. So if you've gotten out of bed and you feel like your body belongs to someone else, and it's basically if Gumby were frozen up, this is what it would feel like. It feels dense, it feels stiff. It's kind of, you feel like you're moving in slow motion, kind of like the Matrix, only your range of motion isn't that great. And then you told yourself this is probably just what 50 or 55 or 65 or even 70 feels like. It's not. There is a reason. And once you understand it, you'll never think about stiffness, low energy, or movement the same way again.
Tired of feeling stuck, unseen, or like your body isn't yours anymore? It's time for a reset. Welcome to An Ageless Life, the Midlife Reset Show, where science, movement, and mindset help you feel strong, energized, and like yourself. I'm Diana Devi, a clinical pharmacist, Argentine tango dancer and instructor, and your guide for redefining how women thrive and grow in midlife and beyond. Let's get started.
I'm Diana Devi, and welcome to the Midlife Reset. This is part one of Running on Full. I want to talk a little bit about fascia. And this is something that, unless you spend some time in movement circles or massage or connective tissue research, you may not have ever heard about it. So let's fix that. And think about a sweater, one that's really well made. And if you pull one thread anywhere on that sweater, you watch what happens to the other areas. And it kind of puckers, it's pulling. It kind of has a ripple effect that you may not have seen coming. This is your body, and fascia is the thread. It's continuously webbing and wrapping around everything inside you, every bone, muscle, nerve, organ, head to toe, front to back. It's a full body experience. One interrupted, flowing system. In fact, your body is not a collection of parts. It is one continuous system. It ebbs and flows and continues to move. We spend our lives talking about shoulders, knees, hips, necks, backs, as though they were separate. And your fascia never really got that memo. If it's healthy, it's slippery and it slides. Think of when you buy avocados in a bunch, that little webby kind of sack that it comes in, how it bends and flows and moves all around is very fluid as compared to when you're trying to press cheese through a screen door. One is your fascia is fluid, the avocado bag. The other one, cheese through a screen door, that's what happens when it gets stuck. It's very difficult to move and it doesn't want to go. When things glide like they're supposed to, it's wonderful. When things stick, it pulls. You can think of a dried out sponge in the way when you squeeze it all and it actually dries out. That's very stiff, almost crunchy like. And that's what can happen to our body. So movement and hydration are that fresh liquid getting back into the sponge. So when it squeezes, it has that ability to move. And this needs to be done regularly. It's part of a whole practice. And now here's the part that I don't really hear talked about a lot. Fascia is not just the packaging, or you can think of it as that sack. It's not the bubble wrap your body uses to keep your organs from kind of jostling around inside of you. It's also a communication system. Right. It talks to other parts of your body. Your nervous system sends signals through it. Your brain gets information back from your body about it. And when that fascia gets stuck, the conversation between your brain and your body, it gets a little harder and it's slower. And there's all of this noise in there. And that's why you don't feel it in just one place. You feel it everywhere. And you can't really quite explain why. Nobody told you this because very few people are talking about it. It's starting to come up a lot more now, and that's why I thought this would be the perfect time to kind of dive into this. Fascia affects how you feel every single day. And what makes it interesting and maybe somewhat infuriating for some of us, estrogen influences not only your cycle and your mood, but estrogen directly impacts how you maintain hydration and the stretchiness of the tissues that hold everything together. And that includes your fascia. So when estrogen goes down, the tissue changes. It becomes thicker and drier and less stretchiness associated with it. It starts to stick to itself in ways that it never did before. And when it sticks to itself, that means it doesn't move, or when it does move, it pulls other things with it that really should not be hopping on that train. This is biology. It's well researched, it's documented, it's not a theory, and it's not a trend. And in the wellness space, it's not talked about a lot because it's a little more difficult because you're not using a supplement and you can't explain it, how it works. I do believe in having collagen. It does help with some things, but this needs a little more nuanced approach to it. And I've been a clinical pharmacist for 40 years, and I've watched what happens when these things are not addressed, when people try to fix it through supplements. And you have to take a step back and look at the big picture. And the moment I hear women tell me, this is happening because I'm just getting older. No, something is changing, yes, but that's not the thing. And furthermore, you don't have to accept it. You can do something different in order to make it change. And understanding what also contributes to this fascia being stuck is important. You have long days at a desk, you have driving, screens, and fascia adapts, and it's kind of like a modeling clay. It adapts to whatever position you're into the most. And you give it that same position day after day for years, and it says, okay, this is the shape that we want to be in. And it stays that way until you move differently. So when you feel stiff or tight, or feel like your body's a little bit dense or heavy, or it's moving slowly, that's not aging. That's not weakness. That is the tissue underneath the fascia being undermoved and underinformed for years. And what I mean by that is we don't really know what it is, and we don't understand how to change it. So we continue to think it's something that we know about. That is, it's because I'm getting older. But there is something that you can do. And so understanding between undermoved and underinformed makes a difference. So stiff fascia is not just a mobility problem. And this is really important. It's an energy problem. When the tissue is dense and thick and it restricts your body from moving, everything your body does costs more than it should. You can kind of think of it as if you have a car and there is you're pulling a trailer behind it. When the trailer doesn't have any weight, it's fine. But when you put a ton of weight back in that trailer, you start to restrict the movement, but also you're making it more dense. There's more that the car has to do. Everything in your body is more difficult. Walking takes more energy. Sitting at your desk takes more energy. Getting through a full day basically costs you more. It takes more energy. And now you're spending your energy on basic functions that should be available for thinking, creating, doing the best kind of things that you want to do with your work, or maybe even playing. And this happens, the meeting where examples of this, the meeting where you couldn't find the right word, the afternoon where your body's just quit on you halfway through the day, and it's just been an ordinary Tuesday. And again, not weakness. It does stress your body a little bit, but not in the way that we think of stress. This is your body running on restricted access. Basically, you can think of it as, the rubber band, when a rubber band gets all dried out and stiff, it doesn't have any stretchiness left to it. That's kind of what your fascia is like. And if you want to do things that expand or to do something different than the other shape, you need to get that flexibility back in that rubber band. And this can result in pain. And there is a part that's going to make you rethink every ache that you've had. Fascia doesn't stretch the way muscle does. When it is pulled in an area, it gets sucks, it pulls everything that it's connected to. And that's why I go back to the avocado and that kind of netty thing. When you pull that, you can see it changes the shape of everything. It moves the avocados around in a different way. And the same thing happens with our connective tissue. The pain often shows up in someplace else other than that point where it was pulled or tight. Knee pain can be actually something from the hip. Shoulder pain or tension can show up in your lower back. The headache that lives behind your eyes, that actually can be something from the base of your skull. And so when I say you've been treating the wrong address, basically you're in the wrong body part. And what you're taking for that body part is not going to work to relieve whatever else is going on. And I saw this in one of my clients recently. She was having a lot of leg pain, the kind that wakes you up repeatedly during the night. And she was frustrated because this was new. She didn't have this before. She hadn't injured herself. She wasn't doing anything radically different than what she had ever done. But she found herself waking up with a lot of pain in her legs. So we talked about having her go to a massage therapist and one who actually does fascial release. And she did. And after the session, the leg pain was gone. Now, what's important to understand here is that the massage was not the solution. The massage was the reset. And what kept the pain from coming back, because that fascia is going to go back to the shape that it was before, was a few stretches and exercise or movements to keep that tissue moving and hydrated. It wasn't anything dramatic. We're not talking about, oh my God, I spent an hour at the gym in order to do this. No, it was little things consistently. And that's exactly what she did. And she started to notice that the relief was pretty instant, and it stayed as long as she was doing this until she began to have her body understand how to do that. And now she's not saying, oh my God, my body's falling apart, or aliens have inhabited and they're mad at certain body parts. Now she recognizes the signal. Her body is telling her it needs movement. She adds a little more stretching, a little more variety, a little more rotation and motion into her day, and the fascia tissue responds. It responds incredibly well to consistency. It doesn't need perfection. It needs regular attention. One more thing, just to be clear, the nervous system runs through fascia. Dense, heavy, thick tissue means that the nerves can't communicate as easily. You can think of it as the nerves are on either a superhighway or they're on a gravel road. And which one do you think you can communicate faster through? Drive a lot faster on a superhighway than a gravel road. Dense, and I say it again, dense restrictive tissue means slower communication. And this is physiology. For 40 years, I've seen women who were told they were fine. It was stress, do more yoga, but no one was looking at the tissue. And I want to tell you, you're not imagining it. The tissue is telling you the truth. So, what actually moves it? Three things, simple ones. First, hydration. And I don't mean drink more water through the day. Yeah, drink more water. But fascial hydration comes from movement that pushes fluid through the tissue. So, you have to drink water in order to have something for the tissue to push through. But then you have to move it. So that's number one. Two, think about every direction your body can move. It can move forwards and backwards, yes, but it can move side to side. It can rotate. It can do a beautiful spiral where you're turning one part of your body and not the other, reaching up or reaching over or across in all different directions. And this is actually what your joints were designed to do. Most of us have a very limited vocabulary of movements that we do. You can think of it as if you only have two words to say, forward and sit, because you're forward because you're looking at the computer, or sit because that's where you sit, doesn't work. Your fascia needs an entire sequence. And think about a child moving. Never in a straight line, twists, turns, reaches, drops, spins. Her fascia is supple, easy for me to say. Her fascia is supple because she uses all of it. We stopped doing that somewhere around the time where we got serious about adulting. The third aspect is consistency over intensity. Even starting with as little as 5 minutes of varied movement daily will do more for your fascia than one hard workout on the weekend. The tissue needs regular conversation. And if you think of it when you do the once a week, it's like, I'm going to shout at you for a whole hour and then expect that that conversation is going to take you through the whole week. Nope, does not work that way. So when you finish this episode, I want you to stand up, put your hands on your hip, and rotate your torso to the left and to the right. And that's it. You started it. If you want, you can put your arms out and do the rotation. You can put your arms behind your back, in front of you. All of these things start changing up that communication. You're starting a new conversation with your fascia. And this is where I want you to hold on to before we go. Fascia is not permanent. It changes in response to how you move. Give it new input and it responds, regardless of your age. This is not a pep talk. This is how the tissue actually works. In closing, your body is not breaking down. It's just responding to the instruction it's been given. Change the instruction and changes the body too. Movement is not exercise, it's communication. Running on full is not about pushing harder. It's about removing the drag. And fascia is one of the biggest sources of drag most women never knew existed. Now you know about your connective tissue, fascia, more than most people, even those with a medical background. You're welcome. That's what running on full means. No pushing harder. Understand what your body actually needs and giving it to it. The next episode, we're talking about cortisol. Not the villain version you see all over social media. The real story. What it's doing in your body. Why it's not the enemy you think it is. And what actually changes it. So I would invite you, if this episode landed for you, please share it with somebody or give me a comment and let me know. And I have my An Ageless Life superpower download for you. It's free. The link is in the notes, and I will see you next time. Bye for now. Remember, aging is an upgrade.
That's it for this reset. Thank you for spending this time with me. If today's episode gave you something to think about, I'd love to have you subscribe so you never miss what's next. And remember to grab your free gift, your midlife superpower, 5 simple power moves to feel like yourself again. The address for this is, or link is, anagelesslife.com/superpower. Thanks again. Bye-bye.